I first got into food sovereignty because my grandmother, she lived off the land for 20 years with no running water or electricity. She would sit out in nature and she would see the signals. Like, she knew all the little messages that nature would send out to let us know when certain things are coming forth. And whenever I go out into nature, I can feel her there, and I just feel like a sense of peace. Ostrich ferns are a type of fiddlehead that grow back every year and have sterile and fertile fronds. When they first grow out, they're clustered into a spiral that's tightly coiled. When they first emerge, they have a papery brown covering on the outside of the fern, and they emerge from a crown, and the crown is looks like a brown upside down pine cone. You can tell where the crowns are because the old ferns, the fertile ferns, will be sticking up, and they almost look like an ostrich feather. That's where they get the name ostrich fern. And from those crowns, anywhere from 1 to 12 fiddleheads can emerge. So these are the fiddleheads right here when they grow out completely. So these taller ferns are the sterile ferns. And the way that you can identify them is if you come in here and look, the stems have a U-shaped groove in the center right here that runs all the way down. With each year that it grows, it pushes up. So typically you can see the old ferns from the previous year growing right around the edge of the crowns. Fiddleheads don't have any hair on them. They tend to be very smooth in their texture, very dark green when they're first starting to emerge. And if you see any type of hair on the fiddlehead, then that is not the edible one that you want to eat. You want to make sure there's no hair on your fiddlehead. So some of the ones that you see right here have a little bit of fur on them, like these ones. And these are not edible. They're the sensitive fern. That U-center grooved shape and the papery brown paper in the spring is sure signs that you've found some fiddleheads. I picked fiddleheads over here for 20 plus years. My aunt, she's been picking there for over 40 years. So it's just like a place where we know we can rely on the fiddleheads to pop up every year. So fiddleheads, they grow in alongside streams and riverbeds where there's a lot of flooding. So right along here is a perfect area where they grow, because once the thaw happens in spring, all the water floods up and then drains back down, and it just creates that wet soil that fiddleheads thrive and grow in. And early in the spring, they're pretty much the first sign of life. When the crowns have 1 to 2 fiddleheads growing out of them, you don't want to harvest from them because their vigor is really low, or they're just newly establishing themselves. And so we tend to leave those smaller crowns alone. Whereas if you see a crown that has anywhere from 5 to 9 fiddleheads, that one I would feel better about harvesting from. You generally want to pick them when they are first popping up, before they've unfurled. And once they grow up to be about anywhere from 3 to 5 inches is when you want to harvest them. When I'm harvesting fiddleheads, what I generally like to do is I use my hands, because when you're using a knife, you can tend to cut the other fiddleheads. So when you go by hand, you're being a lot more delicate with the plant. And I'll pick it at the bottom of the stem and then just snap it backwards, and it will just break right off. I will generally leave the tallest ones alone, because that's kind of like our ancestors, you think of it. And then the smaller ones I'll leave as well, because that's the generation that is to come. So you're thinking of the future and the past when you're picking. You don't want to take too many from the crown, so you want to take less than half of what is present on the crown. Ferns are great filters for the environment. They help to pull pollutants out of the soil and air and rematriate it. That's one of the important reasons why after you harvest fiddleheads, you're supposed to boil them before eating them. You're supposed to boil them anywhere from 7 to 15 minutes, depending on how contaminated the water is. I generally will boil mine for 7 minutes, immediately put them into an ice bath, and then Ziploc them up to put them in the freezer. And that's my favorite way to prepare them and preserve them, because then you can add them into quiches or soup on top of pizza. You can just saute them if you want. When you're harvesting fiddleheads, when you look around at the trees and stuff, you'll see a lot of red maple. So you'll find violets next to fiddleheads, cinnamon ferns, lady ferns, and bracken ferns. So these are sensitive ferns, and they have like this part of the leaf here that is all connected, but then as it goes down towards the stem, they are on their own. Another plant that accompanies ostrich ferns is stinging nettles, and that's a very medicinal plant people have used traditionally for forever. So all these plants that we're eating like live in a like harmonic relationship with the plants that are around them, and then even our people have, through observing these plants, have found out ways in which we can help each other through mindful harvesting.